Okay, now for 11, the cosecant of 11 pi over 6, that's a reciprocal function. So anytime you have a reciprocal function, it helps to find the reciprocal first, and then we're just going to flip our answer. So the sine of 11 pi over 6 is going to, or maybe 1 over that, is going to equal the cosecant of 11 pi over 6. And when you do 1 over something, that just means the reciprocal. So it means you just flip it. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what the sine of 11 pi over 6 is. And then whatever that is, let's say it comes out to be 1/2, then we're going to flip that, and our answer is going to be 2. So that's the first thing I do when I have like cosecant, secant, or cotangent. I either find the sine, cosine, and tangent first, and then my last step is going to be to flip it. Alright, so 11 pi over 6 in degrees is going to be 330 degrees because it's 11/6 of 180, and 180 divided by 6 is 30, so 11 times that is 330. Okay, so 330 is going to be in quadrant 4 with a 30-degree reference angle. Alright, so the not the cosine, sorry, the sine of 30 is something that you should eventually memorize. At this point, probably don't need to memorize it, but you can always just use this table, and if you just use a table and constantly refer to it, you'll eventually memorize it. So the sine of 30 is 1/2, which means this is going to be plus or minus 1/2. Not saying that's the final answer, but it's either going to be positive 1/2 or negative 1/2. The way we tell, well, that makes sense. If it was cosine, that would make sense. But the fourth quadrant for sine is negative. So only if it was cosine, it would be positive, or secant, it would be positive, because cosine is the reciprocal of secant, the reciprocal of cotangent is tangent, the reciprocal of sine is cosecant. So since it's in quadrant 4, it's actually going to be negative, because sine is negative in quadrant 4. So the sine of 11 pi over 6 is negative 1/2. So our final answer, the cosecant of 11 pi over 6 is going to be negative 2, because that's the reciprocal of negative 1/2.